Kia ora, good evening, buddy. Welcome to the Team CP Media podcast, brought to you this evening by our wonderful sponsors, True Fleece. My name's James, and I am the stand-in tonight again, 3 weeks in a row. Something must be going right. I'm here with the man to help you satisfy your endurance sporting itch. It's Rich, team captain. Welcome along Wednesday night. Rich, how are you getting on?
I'm good, James. You've taken a week to think about that, haven't you? Very, very good. Well done.
And at the last moment, I forgot it. I wasn't sure where I was going with it. I had to refer to the third umpire out the back for some guidance.
Yeah, no, great start to the show. Gosh, if that's how you're going to start, I look forward to seeing what you've got up your sleeve for the rest of it. That's very good.
Material's limited. Material's limited.
So hopefully you're watching, because if you're not watching, if you missed it, you need to scroll back for the previous sort of 43 seconds and get that intro. Well done, James.
Good stuff. Nice. How are you getting on? Another big weekend of it's Big Wednesday for you. Another good Zwift session. Did you throw down a few watt bombs? How was it?
Yeah, good, and a few negative comments about how good it was as well. So really put the hurt on. We did a little lap, which we went through a sprint about 6 or 7 times. But everyone was completely over it by the end. So that's exactly what you want on your Wednesday, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's funny, isn't it? Because we don't like it. We don't like being put through the ringer, but really we love it. It's this weird play, isn't it? Like, oh, I hate it. No, Richard, you're a this, that, the next thing. But actually, you love it.
During it, yeah, but they all come back again next week. And but I did get to the point, one person said that they were going to go and lie in the shower, and I have texted the emergency contact just to make sure they don't accidentally block the plug up and drown. So there is a health and safety element to our sessions, and we want to make sure that everyone does survive at the end of it.
Absolutely. And speaking of survival and getting onto Zwift, I've mentioned one of our partners already tonight in True Fleece, putting us in the gears, but tonight's show especially is brought to us by Evo Cycles in Canterbury. Isn't that right?
Yes, absolutely. That's right. They're helping us out. And we've got a bit of a prize pack that we're going to give away. Every week we give away something different. And Evo Cycles have come to the party tonight and are going to give away a bit of an Evo Cycles special prize pack. I'm not exactly sure what's in that. Sandra is dealing with that. So basically the gist for that is give us a comment. Ask us a question. We can see your questions as they come through as a result of throwing it on Facebook. So do that and let us know, and you'll be in to win your potentially that for next week.
Absolutely. So keep them coming. We do keep an eye on the comments throughout the show. So you've got to be in to win. Make sure that you get your questions and comments in. And if you are in need of something to help you jump on Zwift, which is what we sort of talk about every Wednesday, then head down to Evo's and see Grant and the team. They've got everything from basic setups all the way through to your full pain cave, and they can help you out get a system set up for you that works to get you online and put you under Richard's punishment thumb, so to speak.
Yeah, we're trying to talk it up, but we're talking it down at the same point. But that's good. Hey, since we're talking about winners and prizes, last week's winner of the True Fleece Merino beanie that I was wearing last week is Scott Wetherill from Dunedin. So thanks for being part of the show and for all the great things that he does. He's also involved. Organises a multi-sport race down there as well, which is awesome. So keep up the good work, Scott, and that beanie will help you in a bit of Dunedin winter.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. Yeah, it's good stuff. And remember, if you do need some good old merino gear, nz.truefleece.com for all of the get access to all of this really great stuff. So thanks to True Fleece for supplying the prizes for that competition. What's happening tonight, Rich? What's on the show? What's on the menu? Where do we start our endurance Wednesday smorgasbord?
Yes, so we've got a couple of really awesome people that we're going to talk to. We're going to chat to Georgina Kydd. So Georgie's a CP athlete, actually, who you coach, James. So you're going to have a bit of a chat to her, which is awesome. So she's qualified for the Xterra swim, mountain bike, and run world champs in Maui, and likes nothing better than getting out for a bit of an adventure. So we're going to catch up with her about her background, her training, her goals for the summer ahead, effectively, which is going to be awesome. But we're going to kick off the show with Rita Trotman. So Rita's a bit of a legend in the CP community. She goes all the way back to the early days, I'd have to say, amongst Complete Performance, as it was before Team CP. I'm not sure if she'll be sporting her Complete Performance top tonight. We'll have to check in a moment. So for those that have been around for a while, will definitely remember Rita for a while will definitely remember Rita as a CP coach and nutritionist, and she also rode a bike really, really, really quite fast. So fast that she actually competed in the Glasgow Commonwealth Games in the road race and also the time trial in 2010. So it was pretty exciting to have Rita sort of over there and kind of say that she was one of ours and see her come out in the opening ceremony, jumping around and be able to cheer her on as she was doing a thing. That was pretty cool. So pretty keen to have a touch base with Rita and sort of share her learnings from as an athlete, as a nutritionist, and now a teacher as well, which is what she does nowadays. So if Rita's in the background, should we bring her on, James?
Dun, 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 dun. Without further ado,
Oh my God.
Rita, welcome.
Hello.
How's it going, Rita?
Yeah, good, thanks.
What's the story? How are you these days? What's been happening?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, just ticking away with my tamariki at school and growing a baby at the same time. So it's a very new and different adventure at the moment.
Good stuff. Well done. Well done. So let's just jump back. I've given a bit of an update of sort of where we were and what we did back in the day. But tell us a little bit more about your background. What did you do growing up, Rita? How did you get into cycling? What was your sort of journey into that? And then obviously come along to sort of meet us as part of that journey as well.
As a kid, all through my schooling years, I was a gymnast, and that took up most of my life. I also danced a little bit on the side, but I did ride my bike to school just about, I'd say, every day of my life from the age of 10 until I left school at 17. But I didn't get into cycling as a competitive sport until I was down in Dunedin at uni when I was maybe like 21. So a few years in Dunedin, studying cycling, and then touched base with you, Richard, and as it was the incomplete performance when I completed uni and was just biding my time, I think, in Christchurch for a little bit before I headed overseas to race. So yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. That's awesome. So how far were you commuting to school and back again? Do we call that training? Is that your base training over the course of that?
Well, looking back now, I think it was the beginning of training. It was about it was like 5.5K, but there was 2 significant hills on the way to school and then one long one on the way home. And when I've actually ridden them as an adult when I was still an athlete, and I thought they were actually still significant. So yeah, definitely a few training Ks on my commutes with the heavy backpack to school, I think.
And your little BMX bike sort of doing what you needed to do.
Yeah,
and
something
a top
like that.
speed. I'm sure you had a top speed coming down those hills as well, did you?
I think it was I never used to like getting overtaken, even on the flat on the way to school. I remember like charging people down.
Yeah. That's always a good fundamental for any cyclist, isn't it? To make sure you don't get past on the commute. As
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I guess as part of that, so what, early 20s, you didn't actually get started into your cycling sort of?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just had my school commuter bike down in Dunedin and went for a ride with a friend who was into road cycling and realised that he was turning his legs pretty slowly because I was going so slow, and then not quite sure how it happened when I decided I actually wanted to get a road bike. But it did happen, and then keep riding.
Good stuff. So what do you think, like from you, like looking at your development as an athlete, that gymnastics, I guess just the training philosophy and actually turning up and doing that must have definitely helped when you got into the cycling side of things and actually started to get a bit competitive and get a bit like, actually, how good can I be here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was really ready to finish competitive gymnastics when I did, but I remember when I started racing on the bike, which would have been probably 5 years later, those sort of like competitive juices came flooding back, and you remembered that feeling of like working really hard, training through the challenges to then feel really good about an outcome, whether it be a training session or a competition. And I think it was so familiar, and I'd been so ready to rest it for a while, but it was quite fun to have it back again.
Yeah, nice, good job. So how long between gymnastics finishing and cycling starting?
It must have been about 5 years.
Right, okay. So quite a wee while. So
Yeah.
so I'm all in sort of thing when I'm in, because I'm actually quite excited about doing that again.
Yeah, that was definitely me.
Yeah, good stuff. So what would you say to youngsters and parents of keen youngsters, like young athletes specializing in their sport? What's your take on that?
Well, obviously, I didn't specialize in the sport that I took to the highest level at all as a teenager. So I think for me, the foundation was laid just through being active and being in a sport. And through that, I developed a lot of strength and endurance and the mental sort of tenacity and approach that comes along with training to a goal. So, yeah, and I know I've heard Eliza McCartney, big fan, say it as well, that it doesn't really matter the sport as long as you're doing a sport you enjoy. And I think that's a huge part, especially when you're young, because the enjoyment can get sucked out pretty fast in the elite world, if, depending on the circumstances. So I think just keeping it fun and social too. Like, I think as a kid, I was as much in the gym because I had amazing friends there who are still my friends now. And that's probably was a huge part of it for me. It wasn't a socially isolating sport at all at the time.
Yes. Yeah, brilliant. Good stuff. Did you ever use a commando role in cycling?
I definitely had a tuck and roll exit off the bike. Very useful gymnastics training to save breaking bones, I think.
Good stuff. That's awesome. So you also had a season in Europe riding your bike, didn't you? Is that right?
Yeah, 2 seasons over in
So,
Germany.
And a lot of New Zealand athletes especially struggle with this. How was your experience?
It was definitely really challenging. I think before you leave, you probably, well, I did, and I think this is the same for others, sometimes had like rose-tinted glasses. I was living in a country where I didn't really know the language, although for me that was also a cool thing to learn German. But you're definitely a long way from your usual support network. So that was really hard. And it was actually really hard for me to shift to being 100% focused on cycling. When I was racing in New Zealand, I was still studying as well. So for me, that was actually quite a hard mental shift to be 100%. This is actually what my daily life is about at the moment. It was really hard. And it was really hard to go back the second year. But I had this carrot dangling, which eventually won out the decision to go back.
which was the Commonwealth Games in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. And obviously you managed to go there, perform well, and then ultimately get selected for the Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
Good. Which actually brings me to my next point, which is this card.
Oh, no.
How good. So for those people listening to this, I won't be able to see, but I got this card. I got what was that? A text message about, it was in the school holidays just been. We were down on the rail trail, and that was April just been, and we're June now. And what's your address? I've got something to send that I found in the bottom of my drawer, so which is pretty cool. So this is a picture of Rita coming out of the start gates in the time trial in Glasgow, looking every part the very fast cyclist that you were. And you've actually written a bit of a poem on this about your experience, which is pretty cool. And I'm actually going to read one paragraph. Thank you for your support yourselves and CP gave me, which I was both at home and when I was both at home and overseas. The cards, the ideas, the spin classes, all these powered me. And it goes on. There's lots of awesome stuff. And what a cool thing. But you left it at the bottom of your drawer, Rita.
Yeah, for many years.
For many years, like about 10 years, maybe more, 12.
I was just saying if we keep in touch.
Exactly. Well done for actually sending it rather than going, that's a bit weird and not. So tell us about your Commonwealth Games experience. How was that? Like you mentioned and you talked about like as a young gymnast wanting to compete at the highest level, and it wasn't actually that sport that you ended up competing in. It was something actually quite different. How was your Commonwealth Games experience?
It was incredible. Yeah, like I just still feel really, really grateful that I had that opportunity to get there and experience it. I think for me, the highlight was actually probably the opening ceremony, not the race itself. It was just this incredible time where there were so many people from diverse backgrounds, and it was such like a harmonious and peaceful connection in that stadium with all these athletes all super stoked to be there. And I remembered we had to wait outside because I think we must have gotten into the stadium in alphabetical order. So New Zealand was a wee way down, and when we marched in, it was like these two puppet strings just lifting my arms and waving at the audience. And it was I felt like it was so subconscious, like, but you always saw it growing up when you're watching the opening ceremonies, and here I am just like waving at the audience. It was just, it was an incredible time. And I think everyone there was so much joy and happiness. But, like, I only knew a few other people in that stadium at that point next to me in the team. So, that was something I'll never forget. And the closing ceremony was also really special. And the race was just in between.
Before you jumped into the closing ceremony, I wish we had a sort of a flashback to see you coming into the stadium. So from my perspective, I think Valerie Adams was holding the flag. I think, was she?
Yeah.
So basically, here we go. Coming into the stadium, here's Valerie Adams holding the flag, and here's Rita beside her, just going hard.
And I was also beside the gymnasts, who were like my absolute idols in that team, because as a kid, all I'd ever wanted was to be an Olympic gymnast. And so I still very much sort of like was super stoked to be next to these 16-year-old kids.
How good. So tell us about your race. So you had the road race and the time trial that you did?
It was quite a long time. So there was 10 days from the opening ceremony to the time trial, which was great in that it meant I could go to the opening ceremony. But it was a long time. It was quite a funny time to fill. And so I actually left the Games village. I was really lucky to be able to go and stay with a friend outside of the village so that I could still ride on quiet country roads and things. And then, back into the village a few days prior. And the time trial was, you try and prepare for it, but I still don't think I was fully prepared mentally. And I still remember being quite overwhelmed on the start ramp, which is not where you want to be overwhelmed. But there was this beautiful sort of full circle, because Kath Cheatley, who was an amazing female cyclist when I very first started cycling myself, was there with me at the very beginning. And she'd also been with me when I rode for New Zealand, here in New Zealand. And so it was just a really beautiful circle. And look up and you saw the beautiful old building, the Commonwealth Games logo, and you kind of just hits you in the face like, oh, I'm here. And then there's a hand in front of your face counting down 5 seconds to start. And there was a really tight corner right at the start, and the roads were slippery, which is tight corners and slippery roads was not my favourite part of a bike race.
Cobblestones as well, I think, weren't they? Was it cobblestones?
Yeah. So I was definitely nervous, but I think once it started, you go into that autopilot a bit more and sort out your breathing and your rhythm, and
so this is actually the picture of you looking at that of you coming out of the start gate. Which the best thing about that is you're not on your backside. You've nailed the first corner. So
I don't know if I nailed it, but I got around it okay.
You're looking good at that moment anyway. That's the key thing, isn't it? Yeah, looking good at the time. So that's awesome, eh? And then the road race, how did that go?
So the road race must have been 2 days later, I think. And obviously in the road race, you're part of a team. So we were, as a team, aiming to get Linda Williamson across the line first, really. And the road race also wasn't a great course for me. Whilst there was lots of climbing, it was pinch climbs, and they often came straight after a tight corner. It was just full on. It was probably one of the hardest races of my life, even though it wasn't the highest level of racing in terms of like world champs would be a lot higher level than Com Games. And the Australians were just full gas from the start. It was hard. And I think it was the first time I'd had that day that you sort of always hear people talk about on the bike, like, oh, my legs weren't there. And I always sort of didn't believe it. I thought, oh, you didn't sleep well or you didn't eat well or something. But I definitely just had no legs that day, which was really gutting, gutting. But you can't do much about it other than race your heart out and hope that you still do your job for the team.
That's right. What you did do, like as far as I remember, anyway, you were towards the front and pushing hard a few times as well, and trying to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, there was some good moments. There's some really tough moments, and I was pretty glad to get to the end of that one in one piece. But yeah, I mean, you don't have a great day every day on the bike, and that was one of them.
So from that experience, is there any sort of takeaways or learnings or things that you'd share with others from that racing that you did there in that environment?
Yeah, I think it's just that idea of enjoying the journey, because you never if you pin all your hopes on that outcome and of your pinnacle event, you really stand to be crushed. But it's like enjoying those adventures along the way and recognizing this is actually come before that pinnacle event. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nice. That's good advice. That's awesome. So following on from those Commonwealth Games, you picked up the mountain bike as a bit of a new challenge, and as part of that, you raced the Pioneer mountain bike race, which is a 7-day stage race with your teammate then Nina McVicker, and also won that year, and then also as a result headed over to South Africa and raced the Cape Epic. How was that experience following on from that road racing and sort of picking up that slightly new challenge in mountain biking?
Yeah, I think from the start, I really loved mountain biking, and I was really ready for a change after racing on the road overseas. And I never really looked back. In fact, I barely rode my road bike once I got a mountain bike. I was really reluctant to start being competitive at the start, and Nina wanted me to do the Pioneer a year earlier, and I was just not ready for the idea of actually training for an event again. But then she managed to convince me, took me on some good adventures, and I decided it'd be a bit of fun. So yeah, the first Pioneer was absolutely amazing. I think it kind of took me back to those initial reasons why I ever started riding and enjoying it in Dunedin. Just the scenery, the adventures, and a new way of sort of pushing your body in quite a different way to what I had in the past, in terms of more endurance and less sort of speed.
Yes. And also the downhill element as well, and surviving.
Oh,
and not having to use that domestic commando role.
And I think I loved the sort of it's really the reward. Like on a mountain bike, every rock stands to be a reward or a learning point, whereas on the road, I think I got a bit sick of the case. But on the mountain bike, you're negotiating this, that, and you're so focused in the moment. Otherwise, you're off the edge of the track. And I was definitely a weak descender that first Pioneer. I just followed Nina down everything, but it was exhilarating.
Alive. That's good. Yeah, brilliant. So, and then you went over to the Cape Epic. How did that go? How was that as an event?
The Cape Epic was a really exciting event to be a part of, mainly because we actually competed in the UCI category, so with the best female mountain bikers in the world, and yet we were still very much just riding around some cool trails in Christchurch before we went. So that was sort of like eyes popping out of your head on the start line because you're standing behind Annika Langvard. But it was a really, really hard week. I thought I was really, really well prepared, but the terrain was so rough that it was like you've been in a battle every day. And I was the sorest I've ever been. Like in the night, like I've never woken up in the night like that sore. So that was hard mentally as well. But it was amazing scenery, and we were super fortunate, both of us, to have our partners there. So we had our team around us, which was amazing. And I think Nina got really sick in the middle. We had a really bad gastro bug, and came back like a champ. So we finished, I think, like the last 2 days are my favorite memories, because she was over the gastro. I was finally finding my legs, and we could really ride sort of like the team we wanted to be. So that was a good end.
Yeah, nice work. And you got quite sick after that, and after that experience. Tell us about that. Yeah,
so Scott and I went traveling afterwards, as you do, and if you can when you're in South Africa. We went to Botswana, and I ended up in a rural hospital with a warthog walking along next to me, with a really severe virus, some form of virus, which left me very fatigued for quite a long time. I was like, okay, but not really okay.
So now, while you were there, come back and how, like, that, not a long time. So tell us, what's a long time?
I think it was probably, looking back, probably 18 months until I really trusted my body again. So that was when I was able to tackle another pioneer with Nina, and I still didn't know at that point if my body would tolerate it. And I was super cautious, sleeping in the afternoons after every stage. But I came out of that better than I expected. After the race, the recovery was better, and I thought, okay, I've got my body back.
Yeah, good. So you just glossed across that, effectively 18 months of feeling like just tired and really battling. And a lot of people, well, there's a number of people out there that really battle with that, I guess, that fatigue, that maybe overtraining syndrome. There's a number of different reasons why it happens. But what are some of the things that you did to try and get yourself back? Because you start to doubt yourself over that length of time, don't you?
Yeah, and I think I probably went through some patches of thinking I was feeling better and starting to try more like riding again, and then I wasn't actually getting anywhere. So if I look back, if I had the time again, I probably would have done less earlier for longer. But it wasn't just the exercise, it was daily life that was really fatiguing. So I was also teacher training at the time, which is demanding, and then started my first teaching job, and that's when I realized actually how sort of brain fuzzy I was, as well as energy. So in the end, I went to a naturopath because I found I wasn't really improving, and so that was really helpful for me. Basically, just having nutrients, not just from my food, which I'd actually always believed was enough. And I think that was the turning point. And then realizing that I couldn't race the Pioneer in October, which was, I guess, 6 months after the virus, being told by a doctor not to race. And then I think that was my cue to like cut right back.
Yes.
In
Actually,
terms of
hands
training.
up, and actually don't train, don't try, don't keep, just stop pushing and just let yourself to recover a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nice, cool. So your, I guess, advice for others there would be to, what would be your advice to others around dealing with that sort of long-term fatigue?
Yeah, I think it's obviously try and remember your original, because it gets hard when it's been a long time. You forget what you actually felt like when you were fully energized, and that's hard. But I think talking to those around me about how they saw my energy and how I was kind of helpful, because it made me realize I still wasn't back to anywhere near normal. And I think seeking a second opinion. I never sort of rest on one piece of advice from one professional, especially if it's not the advice you want to hear, and keep trying different strategies. So, because for me, it wasn't really until I went down the naturopath path, which I hadn't done before, that I actually felt progress happened.
Okay, yeah, nice. Actually feel that. So Rita, as a nutritionist, so you helped a bunch of our people back in the day around their eating and their sort of sport nutrition and how they should fuel themselves, and also an athlete performing at the top level, and also like a teacher, and you've also been involved in education for a few years now as well. What are some learnings that you had during your training and racing that you'd be keen to pass on to others?
It sounds cliche, but I think really it is like, listen to your body. And as an athlete, I think I was actually really fortunate not to experience that overtraining. And I was quite aware of when I needed to rest, and I stayed quite healthy as an athlete. I didn't get sick a lot and things. So and I think, even diarying your energy levels and your feelings, or just like mood, because that's so intertwined with your energy. Listening to your body and remembering that it's every part of your day is a piece to the puzzle. So that training session that you just have to park isn't actually going to make or break the end result.
Because it's a across the time that you spend and the consistency you do, rather than just that one session. That can actually
absolutely.
put you backwards and make it worse.
100%, definitely.
Yeah. And do you see that with others? Like, in terms of, have you seen that sort of around others just actually not getting that right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think now you definitely hear about it a bit in the media sort of recently about top level athletes with REDs, like with energy deficiency. And these are athletes in really high up teams, or, you know, in a seemingly professional, supportive wraparound environment. But we're, you know, still making mistakes even in the seemingly most supported environment. So I think really it comes down to you, and that those like really close people to you who are perhaps most vested in your well-being rather than your performance. I think that's really key, to keep those people close, not just the ones wanting you to be on top of the podium.
That's right. And that's, I mean, as an athlete, like, often you don't see it yourself, do you? Because you are so like, I want to do as best as I possibly can here, and I've got to hurt, and I've got to challenge myself to be able to actually get to where I want to go. So that's where those key people that are close to you are super important, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Any other sort of key learnings at all? Just throwing it out there.
I think keep having fun and going on adventures. I think if you can be so focused on if you're in a single discipline sport like I was, you can just do that and forget that other forms of adventure and cardiovascular activity can still contribute. And so I think, if I had my time again as a road cyclist, I'd probably be braver and do more running and do more mountain biking, and that probably would have been overall better for my mental well-being. So I think keep doing the fun stuff.
And that's right. And it helps the longevity and helps you want to keep doing it too, doesn't it? If it's actually fun, and that's the beauty of riding a bike. You can actually go to some fun places, and then riding a mountain bike and running and all that's good stuff. And the social element, as you mentioned, is super key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Good job, Rita. That's awesome. So where is Rita now? What are you up to now? So you worked with us back in the day. You've been a nutritionist in schools as well, sort of in the healthy food program in schools, and then also you've retrained as a primary teacher. What are you up to at the moment?
Yeah, I'm super lucky to be a kaiako at Te Waka Unua School in Christchurch, in a bilingual team. So got gorgeous tamariki every day to preach nutrition to, and amongst other things. And I think it's just exciting to try and, open their eyes to the world of sport and nutrition, as well as every other aspect of the curriculum. But it's definitely a fun job, and to be interacting with these like young minds every day is pretty exciting. And they all know that I commute to school on my bike because it keeps you healthy. So
And do some of them commute to school on their bike? Might be a future cyclist involved there.
Got scooters and mainly just the scooters. It's hard to jump a scooter when you're 7.
Yeah, that's right. It could be the next Olympic sport though, couldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rita, it's just been listening to you and Richard have a chat. I feel like you've almost taught me everything I need to know about coaching. There's been several comments that have come through while you've been chatting, and the general consensus is that your positivity for what you're doing, and the fact that you should remember always that it's about enjoyment and well-being first and foremost above everything else. It really comes across, and you can't help but sort of feel that infectious positivity. So thanks very much. It's been great just to listen to you both have a really good chat. It's awesome. Look at me, I'm grinning everywhere. I love it. Big Warren Brown's come on and he said absolute legend. I've got admire your dedication. So Big Was, he was a Wednesday night regular. There you go. There you go, Warren.
Awesome.
Big shout out.
Yeah, as always.
I'm just going to take the time while I can, Richard. I've put a request for the CP Wednesday night cycle group to divert along Maven Road, because then I can cheer you all on from my Fijoa tree hedge at the front.
Yeah, when is the Joas ready? When does that happen? Like that's.
Oh, you missed the season. Sorry.
Okay. I'm sure there's some jam or something like that. Maybe some scones.
Well, you won't know until you come on past.
Okay. We'll have to do that. But actually, maybe a final question before we go, Rita. What's your favourite? Maybe this is two questions. What's your favourite during cycling treat that you would have?
Definitely licorice all sorts on a long adventure.
Yeah, licorice all sorts.
Not the yellow ones though.
Well, do they go to the birds or just to your friends who
I try and give them to my adventure buddy.
I'm not being kind. So if you get a yellow licorice all sort, actually we will all know about that now.
Yeah.
And you're also a keen one on a bit of dessert, actually enjoying your food as well. Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor or a favorite dessert that you're going to go for?
A flavor's quite seasonal and mood dependent, but I did discover a real goodie just the other day. It was like a boysenberry stracciatella, and it kind of trumped my previous, when I really want to eat a big bowl of ice cream, go-to was jelly tip, but I've trumped it with the boysenberry stracciatella.
Right. Yeah, that's so good, because I do enjoy your text message just randomly. Maybe I haven't heard from you for a few months, and then like, how many scoops of ice cream did you have tonight? So how many scoops of ice cream have you had tonight, Rita?
Oh, must be coming up soon. I'll let you know after the podcast. I haven't made it to dessert yet.
That was a nod to the kitchen just there. I saw that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Fijoa's got to be high up there, right? Fijoa ice cream. That's a thing. That's got to be good.
Yeah, I don't.
Georgie's pulling her face in the back. She's not that keen on it, but that's got to be a good one for sure.
Sounds like
I'd be keen to taste test anyhow.
Not too much making it. Okay. Good stuff.
Should we finish off with a fast five? What do you reckon?
We should. Yes, go for it. Yes. Do you want to lead us out, James?
Rita, quick fire, 5 questions to end what's been a great section talking to you. First of all, training morning or evening?
Evening.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
We can talk again.
I've actually pre-written this, but favorite dessert of all time?
Ice cream.
Okay, that's okay. Good.
Fancy meal out or a home cooked meal?
Probably home cooked, but made by my mum.
I feel like you're under duress. Like you have to say that because you're casting looks over there. I think the chef is right there.
No, my mum's definitely not here.
Nice, good stuff. Favorite bike to ride?
It was the one that got stolen. It was a beautiful turquoise, specialized carbon comp epic, and it was my first full size mountain bike. It was amazing.
Damn it! Have you asked Father Christmas for a new one?
Well, I have got a new one, but it's just navy blue, not turquoise.
Okay. I see.
Okay, and imagine that you had that bike. Where would you go and ride that? Where's your favourite place to ride that bike?
Oh, Ghost Road.
Oh, nice. Good choice.
Good job. Perfect. Well done, Rita. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time and energy. Go and straight to the freezer, ice cream out, and sit back with I think you probably earned at least 3 scoops tonight, and go and enjoy.
Cheers, Richard.
Nice one. Thanks very much, Rita. It's been awesome to catch up. Thanks so much.
No worries. Cheers, guys.
Radio. See ya. Take care.
Bye.
Whew.
Just enthusiasm, eh?
Roll to the shoulders. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I think what I love about talking, like particularly that first section of the podcast that we do, hearing from people from all different places and what they've done, is the underlying message that seems to come back all the time is that you have to enjoy what you're doing. If you're not, then what's the point in doing it, right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's Rita to a T, isn't it? Just having fun and but also challenging yourself. She worked pretty hard for what she was able to achieve, and also, as you mentioned, just enjoying the journey and the process of it all, rather than getting caught up in the outcome of what the result may be in the end.
Yeah, and keeping the people around that actually care about more than just what you're doing in terms of training every day. You know, keeping the people around that are looking after the whole picture. That's really important too, and that's what we can often get lost in that, really, can't we? Too. So it's really nice to hear that advice being given out, I think.
100%. Rita was a big team person. That was just her infectious enthusiasm sort of emulated and sort of brought people to her, which is pretty awesome. And I guess that was, and I still sort of see her as part of our community as well in terms of what she does. And that was actually an award that we gave out to Andrew Ludington this year about being part of the team, which was her yellow cycle top that she won at a race around Nelson and Marlborough a few years ago, about just being part of that team. And which leads me to my next point of, we've got a couple of events that we've got coming up that we want to get as many teams involved in as we can. So we've got cyclists and runners in our community, multi-sporters and triathletes and all sorts. So we've got two events, the Tākehei to Akaroa relay. So it's basically running from Christchurch to Akaroa, and there's 9 legs, 8 legs, I think, and broken up around about 10 Ks each. And as a team, you run with a baton and you pass the baton on and get all the way to Akaroa. So there's flat sections, there's uphill, there's downhill, etc. So we want to get as many teams involved in that as we can. And I'm going to put my toe on the start line and maybe possibly a coach's team potentially, James.
Oh, that's good. That's it. Yeah, by invitation only. I'm just trying to think how many. Oh, that means there's going to be several coaches running twice, doesn't it?
well, maybe we coaches plus anybody else that can help out. So I only have to run once. But we do want, it'd be great to be able to get 2 or 3 teams involved in that of 8 people and just have an awesome day out doing that and supporting each other. Having
done that, I did that a couple of years ago with a team. It's such a great day out. You get a van load of people and then you jump out and you're yelling at people as they run along, and it's a really great atmosphere. And if it's not something you've done before, it's really quite different. It's a small team, but you're part of a really big event and you get somewhere quite far away. So it's actually it's a really cool day out.
Yeah, just supporting each other and doing something together. And I think you tend to go harder and push deeper when you're doing it for someone else, maybe than just yourself as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And then especially if you've got someone yelling at you from a van, I don't know, I feel like it's almost like bordering on road rage, but positive road rage. It's like someone's just really egging you along, and knowing that because it's broken up into 8 sections, the distance that you have to run it's not huge. It's, and there are different lengths depending on what you want to run. So knowing that you can really just dig deep, and you've got someone yelling at you in the van, and you've got licorice all sorts or ice cream or whatever else waiting for you in that van, there's a real incentive for you to just give it heaps.
As long as they're probably a bunch of yellow licorice all sorts by the sounds of things that'll be waiting, because all the rest of the good ones will be eaten. But I think the key thing with that is that you don't have to be an amazing top level athlete. Actually, just wherever you are, if you have a pair of running shoes and you can run, join us and be involved and let's go and have some fun. So that's one event. Our second event, which was a real success last year, we got a team together and did the 6-hour mountain bike relay event out at McLean's Island. So that's also in October. Really keen to get involved in that again and get a bunch of teams sitting out there with the gazebo up, having a barbie and doing some laps and cheering each other on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've got a potential candidate for something like that waiting in the wings. That sounds like something that Georgie might be into. But another really great option, and really good because you set up tents there and everything, and it's a really social occasion, isn't it? You sort of tag in, tag out, and get the job done.
Absolutely, that's right. Well, maybe by the end of this next segment, James, your job is to have signed Georgie up to one of those.
I don't think that's going to be a particularly hard job. Georgie's up for an adventure. So with that said, should we have a bit of a chat to Georgie soon?
Yep, absolutely.
Right, we'll do a bit of a wee bit of hype. So Georgie's lives in Blenheim, lives in Marlborough, and has come back from overseas, set herself up with a bit of a lifestyle around working and training, and loves a good adventure outdoors. And we got in touch about 4 or 5 months ago now, and been working through a few bits and pieces. Loves a good mountain bike. Has been working towards achieving and competing in the Xterra World Championships in Maui in December, which is an awesome goal and an awesome achievement to actually have qualified to go to such an event, first of all. Absolutely. So we thought it'd be great to get Georgie along, have a bit of a chat to her about her journey, what's been happening, what it's like living there. So should we do that?
Yeah, let's push the buttons, James.
Nice. Dun, 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 dun. Georgie, g'day.
How you on?
Thanks for waiting. Good stuff.
No worries.
It's how is this? This is your first time and opportunity being on something like this? Is this the first time you've done something like this?
Yeah.
Nice, good stuff. Oh well, good. How good is it listening to Rita as well? To sort of get a bit of
so good.
pre-hype going on, right?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Nice. Yeah, it's really good stuff.
The licorice all sorts were a bad call though, and so was the Fajua ice cream. But
I find that. Why do you say that? I feel like Fijua has got real potential.
It doesn't.
Just no.
Okay.
It's a fine fruit. And
I think that's sort of maybe a cue to move along, James.
This is what. Okay.
Georgie, tell us about your background. How did you get into doing this endurance sport gig?
I don't like. I guess I started trying more like in high school after doing a lot of swimming and athletics. I was not much of a cyclist, still not, but like my whole family did a bit of it, and I don't know, it just sort of evolved. It was like, oh, you're good at running, you're good at swimming, you can patch the bike in. And you're like, oh, okay. And then obviously I gave it quite a bit of break when I went to uni and stopped swimming, stopped everything, and then just realized after a couple of years I was like, I really need to start doing something again, and just got surrounded by the right people, and got like the buzz and just started running again, biking again. Got a new got a coach then who was really nice, really cool. And it's just like, I don't know, I learned to cycle properly, and yeah, it sort of went from there. And it's sort of been like up and down since, for sure. Like the mountain biking and off-road stuff's very new, but yeah, a few injuries along the way and quite a bit of screw ups.
Well, it's all part of the journey, though. So let's just go back a step. So you've recently come back to New Zealand after spending a bit of time overseas. Were you racing or doing any kind of endurance sports or sports of any kind while you're overseas? What was happening for you?
Not so much. I think like I left in 2019 after I'd just done my first Xterra, and I loved it. Like I was into it, did it. I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to take my mountain bike to Europe. I'm just going to mountain bike everywhere, and then I'm going to race. And then that doesn't happen. Like you get went to Europe, just started having heaps of fun. I got the mountain bike over there, so I was riding, and I was getting really into that, but definitely not racing. Came back, started getting fit again, and I was getting pretty excited. And then went back to Europe and was sort of just riding, doing a lot of mountain biking and just adventuring around, but trying to like get a bit more balance back than just full-blown training or full-blown having fun.
Yeah, nice. And I guess and I guess that's one of the things we want to touch on a little bit later on in the chat tonight. But coming back to Blenheim and Marlborough and setting up, and you talked about having the right people around you. What does training in Blenheim and Marlborough look like? Tell us about your backyard. We're obviously down in Christchurch here, and we've got people from all around the world. But what's so great about living and training in Blenheim? What's that like for you?
It's just really cool. Like there's a lot of really nice people who are obviously really into it. Same in Christchurch, I'm sure, but just a smaller community, kind of a smaller feel, and people, you feel really supported here, I think, which, I mean, I've trained in Auckland and New Plymouth and that same thing, but I don't know, you come back to a community here and there's so much available, and the people around are just so keen to have people coming out. So just real encouraging, eh? Like, we've got a few mountain ranges around, which are real cool, the Richmond Ranges and out Whites Bay and Pukaka and the Wither Hill. So it's pretty cool. And also like an amazing pool complex that got put in basically after I first moved out of Blenheim when I was younger, and it's pretty epic. And like no one there because it's Blenheim.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the pool. You're never fighting for a lane.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is I'm hearing some sort of sales pitch. If you want to come and train triathlon and multi-sport, it sounds as though Marlborough is a really good option.
This is the place to be. This is the hub.
The new Cambridge. And if you've done that, you've been out training, and you need some kind of therapy or something to help an injury, then no one better to come and look after you than yourself. So you're an osteopath. Let's unpack that a little bit. What does an osteopath do, and how does that differ from some of the other services that are out there, like chiropractic work, massage, that sort of stuff? What's your specialty?
Me personally, it's so hard to kind of depict all of this because I've not had a lot of treatments. I haven't seen a lot of physios, I've never seen a chiropractor. I'd barely seen an osteopath until I became one. So all I know is for us, from my training and what I do is it's sort of we'll treat a whole range of things. For me, I treat a lot of sports injuries, but there's also a lot of elderly people you're treating, a lot of just chronic conditions and digestive problems, headachy problems, just making a lot of just keeping people in their optimal health, or where they want to be in their health journey. And I guess it's I try to integrate for me, what I believe for that person is going to work, whether it might be some things that physios do or chiropractors do or massage therapists, but it's just sort of bundling a lot of that together and the mix that I think works. But again, an osteopath down the street or even in the same building, there's a man who's working there, and we're completely different. The way we treat and the people who will be inclined to see us will be different. So then to think about physios, I mean, we're all aiming for the outcome of getting people better, but how we get there is all very unique.
That's cool. I guess you could probably draw parallels to coaching in some ways. Then the process is very different depending on who you're treating, right? Do you kind of see it that way as well? You've got to know the individual, how the person works in order to get the outcome. Definitely.
It's same as coach, it's sort of in a way management. I think you're managing people's health, you're managing their coaching or whatever, their fitness and this whatnot. And obviously you have to just always assess the individual and just see what's going to work there. And I mean, you're not always going to get it right, but then it's sort of pivoting from there and just going, okay, well, we'll go this route, or okay, maybe I'm not doing the right things. You need to be here. So it's sort of that touch base person in a way it's managing people.
Yeah, nice. Well, how about we flip that around then? So knowing that that's part of what you do for your job and the way that you offer your services to help people, how do you feel like you do that on yourself? If you flip that around and looked in yourself and you're kind of navigating your way through everyday life, how, being an osteopath, how does that work, flipping it back on yourself? How do you find that?
It doesn't. That's why I see you. That's why I make you call me every week. No. It's hard. Well, I don't know about you, but it's something that it's so easy to look at the world this way and not switch it back. Like I've said, I've been so many times I've been injured and sick, and I should know better. Do you know what I mean? I've had the training, I've got all this background. It's I've tried so many times, with triathlon or running or swimming or biking, and it's just I'll just always ignore a whole lot of warning signs, which of course all day you're telling people, well, what are you doing? Obviously that's wrong. And then you at home doing the same stuff.
Yeah. It's a real case of do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
Exactly. And I'm sure there's other people who are just perfect and can do it both ways.
Well, I'm still yet to meet those people. I feel like everyone's got a balance to find there, right?
Yeah. I'm the first to admit my weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, look, okay, well, let's look at that another way then. So seeing as we have started working together recently, having someone else, having an external person just assess and look at you and say, right, what are your goals? We've got this big audacious goal of going and racing really well at the Xterra World Champs. What's been your focus for the last wee while since we've sort of started working together? And how has that changed from having nobody, just being accountable to yourself? How has it changed in the last few months?
Well, I think the biggest focus is obviously when I talked to you was to help try manage a load that was getting me improving and getting me better. And obviously I want to be the best I can be, but without getting sick, having to take time off, overdoing it, which I still try to push the boundary a little bit. But that was sort of like the whole focus now is like, I guess, learning to be more mentally capable of listening to my body. Like I never understood the concept, listen to your body. But I guess it's the whole like paying attention to when things are feeling good, when they're not, when to push, when to pull back a little bit. And like, I mean, obviously I'm still not great at it, but it's something that we more can bounce back and forth and talk about. And yeah, it's like a pull apart things. Like it's yeah, it helps me self-reflect a lot more.
Nice. Well, if I can, something we chatted about yesterday when we were having our weekly catch up is just like there's lots going on in the world sometimes, and you've got balanced family, you've got a balanced training, and the expectation that comes with it. And sometimes you can just end up in this kind of blurry mess of doing everything without actually paying much attention to what you're doing at all. So, for example, the coming few weeks, what are you focusing on over the next few weeks with regards to training and having a kind of a bit of mental clarity around what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it was sort of like we were talking about like the mindfulness around training in a way, because I guess like we said, at times you get busy and it's not that training goes on the back burner, it just becomes like the lower focus. Like we're still getting the sessions and the quality's good, I think, but it's just like a going without intention and things get a bit sloppy or whatnot. And it's sort of not a wasted session, but it's something that I just haven't thought about. It's not like you're really drawing a whole lot out of. So what was our intention? Now, these next couple of weeks, we're doing it with intention. Well, me. But we talked about like the whole putting intention, like having like a minute beforehand to sort of think about like, what am I doing here? Like I'm at the pool at 5:30 in the morning, bleary eyed, like, okay, I'm here to actually make sure that I'm hitting targets, like making the time or kicking 4 times off the wall. Do you know what I mean? Like just taking a second to think. And you've done some little notes at the start of like, so when I look at my session, it's like, well, the one what was today, like you can be here swimming with those kids. You can be here with those kids. So like,
it was funny actually listening to Rita. Yeah, it's all about context. But listening to Rita talking about cycling with the really fast kids, it kind of drew a parallel to something that you've just changed in going to a different swim squad and swimming with. So obviously doing triathlon, you've splitting yourself over 3 disciplines, but swimming with kids I say kids, teenagers and young adults that only swim, and they're almost a different animal, really, aren't they? A different beast.
They are. They're amazing, honestly. Like it's so nice to be swimming around there. Well, sometimes. By the end of the session, it's not that nice, but I mean, like showing up, and it's pretty intimidating because they look like swimmers, they're beasts, and you're like, oh yeah, they can hold their breath for 25 meters, good for them. And you're sort of like jumping in. I'm like, I don't know. Like you look at the set, especially that first week, looking at the set on written up, and you're like,
yeah,
I hope my arms will make this. But like you just do.
Yeah. And that's about setting that intention at the beginning of the swim, isn't it? And saying like, okay, I'm here at 5:30 in the morning. This is quite an intimidating place. I'm swimming with some really experienced people, but actually taking the time to say, this is my swim. This is what I intend to get out of it. And I'm going to make each of those little links that I do, each set of 100, that's going to be the best 100 that I do today. And then the next one, the best 100. So it's about having intention, isn't it?
Yeah, and like the presence, like not forgetting, not like just getting into that third 100 or 500 and being like, what's for breakfast? What am I going to do later? What am I doing? It's like, just stay there now, like do this 500. You've got a time, keep pushing the pace or whatever. Like you're sticking to the 120s, 100s or something, rather than, which I have a tendency to do, just. So yeah, it's like the focus in the moment. Yeah,
nice. Good. Okay. Well, then what about when things have kind of taken a little bit of a sidestep and that we had this big goal to work towards and you're working really well on kind of building speed and building that top end kind of pace. But then there was a wee bit of a mishap in that you went and had one adventure too many. And, what happened there? So tell us about what's happened with injury and what happens when injury sets in.
Oh man, it sucks. We were doing a wee row gain up Rainbow Ski Field up. Yeah, never done a row game before, obviously, and still haven't completed one, like I said. But we went up there, we were running around. I knew I was tired. Like, this is the thing. This is I just knew, but like, knew I was tired going in. I was saying, I don't know if I should be doing this. I'm a bit tired. And I'm like, no, it'll be fun. It's fine. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Get up there and running down screen, smack my ankle while we're up at like the most out of place from base you could be. Like 3 of us in a team. And I was like, oh no. I was just like, oh no, this isn't good. I know. Nah. Because I've done something similar before. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. So luckily I had an amazing team. I had a couple really nice teammates, and they literally carry me down. One's out scoping that we're not going to get bluffed. We won't go back all the way. So literally carry me on their shoulders, tape my shoe to my foot. We're just making our way down this mountain. So, everyone else had gone home by the time we get off the mountain. I was like, cool beans.
Yeah. So how has that, obviously having that injury, how does that reshape your focus, and how have you reshaped your training and your mental approach to what you're doing? Because fitness is a big part of your life. What have you done to change the focus now that running is not something that you can do quite as easily until you await repair of that?
Yeah. Well, obviously it's very lucky doing triathlon, having 2 other disciplines, and it was just lucky. Like, this injury is something it's only sore when I'm like weight bearing, so I'm pretty lucky there's still cycling and swimming. Obviously we changed up the swim squad, stepped up the swimming, and also we just planned events around doing the cycling individually or the swimming individually, which it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, we did like that mountain bike race, which I hadn't done before. I did like a first one of those, and now with the swim squad, looking at doing a few swim meets with the kids as well. Should be pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, should we? Speaking of that mountain bike race, let's wrap that up with showing a little bit of how hard-nosed Georgie can be on the Karapoti Classic up in Wellington. So that was your first time to that event. Talk us through that, because there's one particular moment which I hope you're going to share with us, because it was epic. I remember the post-race chat we had was gold. Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, it was like the first race I guess I've done with mountain biking, and also the first race post-injury. So we'd been gearing up for it. I was feeling real fit. I got a brand spanking new bike. I was like, nothing can stop me at this point. We like get there. It's freezing. Oh God, it was such a cold morning. I was like, oh yeah, that's all right. We're gonna get hot anyway. And then it's like start off with the river crossing and the frost. I'm like, it's fine. I'm fine with this. It's gonna be fine. Get into it, and I was like, I was actually feeling real good, mainly because my bike was so light. And I was like, yeah, this is it. Gunning, hit the water, all good, running through. And obviously with this foot injury, it was like, well, it's good that we're doing bike riding, not running or walking or anything. And if you've done the Karapoti, it's like split up, isn't it? There's sort of the sections where there's like the crossings, then you've got this nice bit through the gorge, then you go up. It's called the Devil's Staircase. It's quite steep and a lot of pushing. And I was having sort of trouble from the beginning. So going through the gorge, I'm feeling really good, really fast. I'm like, God, I'm quick. And like, there's a few points where like, God, I'm on fire. Passing kids left, right, and center. And then I did notice, like, because there's a few spots in the beginning of this Devil's Staircase, or before you get to that, where you have to unclip and sort of get up. And oh yeah, I bought cleats that week. That's right. We just put on some new pedals. I had put on some new pedals. Self-checked, self-screwed on, getting up and like having a bit of trouble getting the shoe out a few times. And I was like, oh, I look real noob doing this, but that's okay. And then it's like, oh God, there's a few bits like going over like some drops and whatnot. And I was having a bit of trouble. I was like, this is really embarrassing. Because then getting back in, like shoving it at my shoe at the pedal, just. And then I got to sort of the beginning of the really steep stuff, and my shoe just wouldn't come out. And I had like, I was like, we had 3 goals, with what was it? The first one I wanted to make 3:30.
Yep.
Second goal was don't fall off. And then the third goal was don't bonk. I really didn't want to bonk. That's
get to the finish feeling like you'd given it heaps.
Yeah. And so that's because we were like eat food. So you're not, you've made sure that you've got the energy. And so I was like dying of like, like your heart rate's up, you're breathing. And I was like, I've got to eat at some point, and just like smash it, like music bar at your face. And like,
Throw it at your face.
Yeah, throw it at your face. And then I got to the point like where my foot just actually wouldn't come out. And I was like, this is terrifying because there's like this big droppy bits on a cross country bike that's got like 100, I don't know. I'm not used to that. These little tires. And then I just had to, at some point, it's just like, it literally would not come out. Like the shoe turned all the way to the side. And
you couldn't get your foot out.
I couldn't get it out. And then it got stuck sort of 90 degrees on the pedal. And I was like, shh. So I had to pull it out. I had to pull my foot out and I was just in the sock. And I was like, from there, it's like half an hour of pushing on and off. And like, I'm just a sock pushing up. And then you'd find a time when you get on the bike, but it's like, well, it's not worth me putting my foot all the way in. So I'm just pedaling on top of this sideways shoe sticking out. And these people, like,
so you finished the race.
Like,
you finished the race in a sock, standing on top of your shoe. And if it wasn't for that, you would have been up with the professionals, surely, by the sound of that race report. Epic.
Nah. Like the girl, I caught up with a couple girls from they'd left the heat before, and this girl sort of caught me up, and she's like, I think we're in the front bunch. I'm like, not possible. I'm not going to make the 3:30. And then I had a couple of stationary falls when I couldn't get my foot out. I was like, had 2 crashes. I at least have to stay fueled to the end and push. Otherwise, all 3 plan A, B, and C are ruined. But that was good. And then, like, obviously at the end, there's another river crossing. So, like, even in the finish line, I've got my sock.
Good. Nothing like a good story, Georgie. No matter the worse it is, the better the story is. So you've done very well there. What does the sort of rest of the winter and the summer hold for you? Where are you off to next?
Well, actually, now that I've joined these kids' swim squad, I'll basically be returning to my like high school days and going to swim events. I might be doing a few swim meets. I've just talked. James we keep thinking when's the next swim event. Nelson Marlborough Champs will be on in the beginning of July. Good. Yeah, so I found that out this morning. That'll be basically I'll be in the 13 and over age group.
Fantastic. Giving it heaps out of the comfort zone. Like
exactly. They'll be in their race suits. I don't know what I'll wear. We'll figure it out on the day.
Doesn't matter. You can do the parapody in a sock. You're fine. You can finish parapody in a sock. You can go to the pool. You'll be fine. Should we finish up with a quick 5? How does that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. Get into it, James. Lead us off.
Right, Georgie, you know the drill. Training morning or evening?
Morning, definitely.
Favorite training session to do, Georgie?
Anything with running.
Oh no.
No, I'm riding up pukaka. I have this obsession with like riding pukaka. So usually Thursday is the pukaka ride, and that's me. Buzzing.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nice. Fancy meal out or a home cooked meal?
Home cooked meal.
Lentils, is it?
With pesto.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, are those lentils sweet or savoury? Are you a sweet or savoury person, Georgie?
Sweet.
No,
the lentils aren't. The lentils aren't, but definitely sweet. Yeah.
And favourite event of all time?
So far? That's hard. I'm going to say Xterra.
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. The Rotorua one's amazing.
Nice. Yeah.
Good job.
Awesome, good stuff.
That's so good. Hey, well done on your debut on our podcast. So good to tick that one off. You've done well in your first outing, and thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's great to have you as part of the team, and looking forward to seeing what the rest of the winter and summer and getting back into some running look like. Looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like for you. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Nice. Rightio. Thanks, Georgie. See ya.
Catch up soon. Thanks. How you doing, James?
Oh, another end of a good show, Rich. How was that?
Yeah, no, really good. Well done. That's awesome. Hey, you must be doing something right. So come in to fill in, and now you're actually leading the charge. Sort of, leading the questions, James Owen. taking over the world.
Yeah, well, it's good stuff. It's great to be part of it. And I know for people watching and listening and taking in the information that we get to see, it's great. It's really, really cool to listen to people's great stories. And, from people that have been on the world stage to people just getting into it to dealing with injury. Like, there's so many great avenues and stories which people have to tell. So it's really nice to be here and be able to click the buttons and just have a yarn with some great people. It's really cool.
Yeah, good job. No, that's awesome. Great to have you be able to do that and share that with us as well. Hey, we talked about our Take to Akaroa relay event and a McLean's Island relay event. So let us know if you're keen to do that. Drop me a text, send us a message, Instagram message it to us, whatever email it. You can send a pigeon, whatever you need. But that's not all. We've also got our Your Local Challenge that's coming up. So over the next 2 weekends, this is something that was probably one of our most favorite challenges that we did across our lockdown that we did. So basically what your job is to get out and visit your favorite local cafe, bar, restaurant, bakery, ice cream shop, corner dairy, pie cart, and basically have an adventure to get there. And let's face it, it's always better when you've actually earned your ice cream at the end of the day or your custard square. So your challenge is to run, bike, walk, kayak, swim, tramp, mountain bike, etc. to your local, and you need to share a photo on our Team CP community page with one of you getting there and the other one with your feet up enjoying the perfect brew, pie, or ice cream. Is that something you can do for us, James?
Oh, this is a challenge that's dear to my heart. It's a really, really awesome, really awesome thing to do. And there's no right or wrong way to do it, is there? No one knows your backyard better than you do. I remember looking at your post from Kerwee and a wee bit of insight into some of the irrigation wells and where the pub used to be and all that sort of stuff. And if nothing else, it's great to learn a little bit about someone else's backyard. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. So that's your job. So we're going to have a few categories. Your biggest mission to get there, the best photo, the best CP media team live video update on the way. So so just share a photo, go in the draw, and we've got a whole bunch of awesome partners: Evo Cycles, Giant Bikes, Coffee Culture, etc. Front Runner, the True Fleece Merino. So we've got a whole bunch of prizes from all our awesome partners that we're going to throw around the place by you basically just sharing a photo of you eating a pie. It's not bad, is it?
And if you want a little bit of homework for all the listeners and watchers out there, if you want some inspiration, a friend of the podcast, Bo Miles, is the man that kind of started a lot of this, really, didn't it? He ran a really great event just around he did a marathon over the course of 24 hours, just got a heap of stuff done. And in the process, learned a little bit about his backyard. So we had him on. So if you want a bit of inspiration, go and find Bo Miles on YouTube, have a watch of those, and you'll come out the other end fizzing and ready to go.
Yeah, and that sort of sums up the show really about awesome people. We've had a couple of really good, awesome people on the show tonight that are just enthusiastic, I think is probably the key way to sum it up, wouldn't you say, James?
Absolutely, and I can't help but rub off. I'm feeling enthusiastic now too, and it's a bit late, but I almost feel like I need to go and have a run to get rid of all of this energy that I've absorbed. It's good stuff.
To be honest, I actually always battle to sleep on a Wednesday night because I'm so fizzed up. So I think exactly the same.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, that's our little cross to bear, isn't it? It's good stuff on a Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for pushing the buttons and answering the questions. You're doing it all, James. And until next week.
Good one. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Well done, team.